The building was almost empty by the time Emma shut down her computer. The office lights hummed above her, too bright for how late it had gotten. Outside the windows, the city looked distant, as if it belonged to someone else now. Cars moved slowly below, their headlights streaking through the dark like thoughts she didn't have the energy to finish. She slipped her bag over her shoulder and stepped into the stairwell, choosing it over the elevator without thinking. She liked the quiet. The stairs echoed softly beneath her feet as she descended, floor by floor, counting without meaning to. That was when she stopped. Halfway down, between the third and second floors, something interrupted the familiar gray of concrete and metal. A door. It wasn't dramatic. No glow, no sound, no warning. Just a plain wooden door set neatly into the wall where there had never been one before. The wood was smooth, unpainted, unmarked, no handle, no lock, no frame that looked out of place. It fit so naturally that the wrongness of it took a moment to register. Emma stared at it, her mind searching for the fastest explanation. Renovation? Emergency exit? Something she had simply never noticed before. She had worked here for 3 years. She knew this stairwell, every crack in the wall, every stain on the steps. This door had not been here yesterday. She stepped closer. The air around it felt the same. No warmth, no cold, no sound, just stillness. A single sheet of white paper was taped at eye level. One choice, no return. Emma exhaled through her nose, more tired than afraid. It felt like a prank, or an art installation she hadn't heard about, the kind of thing meant to provoke a reaction from people who still had the energy to be surprised. She reached out and peeled the paper from the door. The tape came off easily, too easily. She folded the paper once and slipped it into her bag, already turning away. When she looked back, the door was gone. The wall was solid concrete again, unbroken, seamless, as if nothing had ever been there. Emma stood frozen on the stairs, her heartbeat loud in her ears. She pressed her palm against the wall. Cold, real, normal. She laughed once, quietly, shaking her head. Too much work, too little sleep. She went home. That night, sleep came in pieces. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the wood grain of the door, smooth, unmarked, waiting. The door appeared again the next night. This time, it was in the hallway of her apartment building. Emma had just stepped off the elevator when she saw it, positioned perfectly between 2 familiar apartment doors. Same wood, same height, same paper. One choice, no return. She checked her phone. 11:59 p.m. The hallway lights flickered once. At exactly midnight, the door vanished. Emma didn't move for a long time. She didn't tell anyone, not her coworkers, not her sister, not even herself, not fully. She told herself it was stress, fatigue, a trick of routine breaking under pressure. But part of her stayed awake later each night, watching the clock with growing attention. The door returned, again and again. Always at midnight, never early, never late. Sometimes it appeared in places she knew well, the laundry room, the end of her street, the subway platform after the last train had passed, the tracks silent and dark. Other times it showed up where it made no sense at all, between grocery store aisles, at the edge of a parking lot, at the far end of a quiet park where no paths led. It never chased her. It never followed. It waited. Emma began to feel something unfamiliar rising beneath the fear. Expectation. She started adjusting her routines without admitting why, leaving work later, walking longer routes home, staying awake past midnight even when exhaustion pressed against her eyes. She told herself she was trying to understand it, to prove it wasn't real. But when the door appeared, her heart always quickened. what was on the other side? The question grew heavier with each night. It followed her through meetings, through meals, through conversations that felt increasingly hollow. She imagined possibilities she hadn't allowed herself to consider in years. Another place, another life, a mistake, a miracle. On the seventh night, the door appeared inside her apartment. It stood between her living room and bedroom where the walls should have been empty. The paper was still there. The words hadn't changed. But this time, there was a handle. Emma stood barefoot on the carpet, the rest of her apartment dim behind her. The door felt closer than it ever had before, not physically, emotionally, as if it had always been meant to end up here. Her hand hovered inches from the handle. Every reason not to touch it rushed forward at once. Nothing good came from doors that appeared uninvited. Curiosity was not courage. Stories like this never ended well. Whatever was behind it couldn't be undone. Her heart beat faster. Then another thought surfaced, quieter than the rest. What if this is the only time? The realization settled heavily in her chest. Fear wasn't what held her back. It was comfort. Her life wasn't terrible. It was manageable, predictable, safe. She knew where every choice led because she had already chosen it by not choosing anything else. Doors like this didn't appear for people who were fulfilled. They appeared for people who had settled. Emma closed her fingers around the handle. It was warm. The door opened without resistance. Light spilled into her apartment, soft and natural, like sunlight through an open window. Not blinding, not overwhelming, just enough to invite her forward. She stepped through. The door closed behind her. On the other side was a version of her life that felt instantly recognizable, not because it was familiar, but because it was honest. She saw herself speaking when she had always stayed quiet, leaving situations that drained her instead of enduring them, choosing uncertainty over regret. Time moved differently there, faster, fuller. Moments felt heavier, more vivid. Joy carried risk. Failure carried meaning. She lived. And when she finally turned back, the door was gone. Emma woke up in her apartment to sunlight streaming through the windows. Everything looked the same, the furniture, the walls, the city outside, but something inside her had shifted. She didn't carry memories of another world. She carried certainty, a quiet, grounded knowing that didn't need explanation. She got dressed and went to work, and by noon she had resigned. The words came easily, without apology. That evening, she made the phone call she had avoided for years, booked the flight she had always said she would take someday, chose differently in a dozen small ways that added up to something real. The door never appeared again. She didn't look for it. She didn't need to. Some doors don't lead to new places. They lead to new versions of ourselves, and they only appear once.